So we're out here on one of my favorite e-bikes ever, the Milad DK300 Max. This thing is so awesome. I made a bunch of videos on this channel about this bike. I made a review video, I've made a unboxing video and everything when I first got this bike. This is just one of my favorite bikes ever that I've tested. It's such an awesome bike, and I wanted to do a little bit of an update on it because I've hit about 200 miles on this thing. You can't see it right now, but the odometer is at 198 miles on this bike. And I've taken this bike a lot. I got this bike in like September and it's November now. So that just shows you how much I've ridden this thing. This has been like my go-to bike to take out whenever I just want to go out for a ride or something. Besides this and the Wired Freedom have been the bikes that I've been on the most in September and October and stuff. So you can see we're taking this bike off-road. This is just a do-it-all type of bike and I love it. As you can see, we're just handling this rough terrain like nothing. We're handling rocks on these CST Scout tires that come on this thing. But for those of you guys who don't know, this is the DK300 Max. It is a dual motor e-bike, a motor on the front and the rear wheel, and they're 1500 watts peak, I believe, so plenty of power, 3000 watts combined on this bike. So this is not your regular 48 volt 750 watt e-bike. This is a powerful bike, especially when you have both motors engaged on here. So I just absolutely love this bike. It comes with dual batteries also. One of the batteries is right here and it looks like a gas tank on top of this thing. Just awesome. I think this bike is the coolest looking e-bike I own, and I absolutely love this bike. Now, that's a top speed of about 36 miles an hour. I'm on a full charge here in pedal assist 5. And we're going a little bit uphill, but we'll see if we can get this thing up to its top speed. Hit about 30. Brakes on this guy are really good also. They're 4-piston Milad branded hydraulic brakes, and they get this thing to a stop really good. They are a bit squishy compared to other bikes that I've ridden since this, but they're not bad at all, and they have a pretty good feel. They're nice and linear, and you really just feel them grabbing, and it just gets you to a stop really nice. It's very confidence inspiring for sure. And this thing handles off-road like an absolute dream. The rear suspension on here is pretty beefy. It's a pretty big spring, but it's not the softest spring that I have. The Wired Freedom has a much softer air spring in the back, and I really would like to switch this one out for one of those because I think this would be probably one of the most perfect e-bikes that you can get. Whoa, big bump right there. If you had, oh man, if you had better suspension on the back here. But you can see we're just ripping down this here. And it's been raining a lot lately. It's a little bit muddy out here, so I'm gonna take it easy, but this thing just handles off-road like nobody's business. Plenty of power, plenty of speed available on tap here. But this thing really is at home on the bike paths and on the road like this, like nice smooth paved surfaces. These Scout tires on here are awesome. I love these, and they really haven't worn out much over the past 200 miles. I think these Scout tires are gonna last a really long time. So let's talk about how this bike's been over the past 200 miles. Have I had any issues with it, stuff like that. This video is gonna be a little bit boring because I really haven't had any issues with this bike. There was a little bit of an issue with one of the fenders kind of rattling around and stuff, and you could hear it in my unboxing video and everything, my first impressions, but I got that fixed. It was a really easy fix. I just had to tighten something down and it was all good, but really no problems with this bike over the past 200 miles. I've ridden this bike a lot. I've had someone else riding this bike with me when we go out on rides and stuff, and we both love this bike. Anybody that I've had on this thing thinks it's so cool. People have stopped me and said, oh my god, that bike's so cool, like what is that thing? And I just love it so much. It's been really awesome over the past 2-3 months of ownership here. Milad did send me this bike, and that does not affect my opinion on something. If it sucks, I'm gonna tell you it sucks. But I had my eye on this bike for a long time, and they reached out and they wanted to send it to me, so I was like, absolutely, man. I've been wanting to check this thing out for a while, and I'm glad that I did because it's everything that I expected from this bike and more. I mean, it's just such an awesome bike, and it's been extremely reliable over the past 200 miles for me, and I can't say enough good things about this bike. The headlight on this thing is amazing. It's super bright. It has a high beam and a low beam. I've taken this bike out a lot at night, and even in dark paths, you can completely see it. It illuminates everything. It really is an awesome headlight. Probably the best e-bike headlight I've ever seen, and it has built-in turn signals on the front and rear, which is awesome because you're probably going to be on the road on this bike, so you can signal your turns to other drivers if they see you, that is. And then you've got a Nice little horn back here, which is not a super loud horn, but it's nice because a lot of times e-bike horns are just really, really loud and they'll scare the crap out of people. But this one is nice and not too loud, but it lets you know that you're there. Top speed I've gotten this thing up to is about 36 miles an hour on throttle only. Pedaling this bike is not comfortable. This is not a bike that you'd really want to be pedaling. Maybe if a cop was looking at you, you'd want to pedal this bike, but really overall, this is not a bike that's made to pedal. You have a dual motor e-bike like this with dual batteries. This is a bike that you're meant to use throttle only. You can pedal in a pinch if you need to, but really you shouldn't need to because this thing is just so powerful. And you do have a 7-speed Shimano shifter. And one thing, I guess one problem that I had with this is this shifter actually broke on me, so that's why it's kind of flopping around here and why it's at a funny angle like that. Who cares about that? I don't need that anyways. The front suspension is adjustable. As you guys can see, the rear suspension is adjustable with an air pump in the back. It is an air shock, but it is just a regular steel coil as well. Still, I haven't found any adjustment that I like on this rear suspension. I might actually change this out next year, next season. We're getting towards the end of the riding season here in Illinois. It's middle of November here, about to be Thanksgiving, and we got some good weather today, but it's gonna get cold here soon. So this is probably one of the last days I'm gonna be out. And I'm glad that I'm on this thing because this is just such a fun bike to be out on. It just gets so much attention and so much looks from people. And I guess if you want to be low key, this isn't the bike that you want to be using, but if you want something that's fast and fun, the Milad DK300 Max is a really, really, really good option for you. Now they do have other models underneath the DK300 Max. They have the DK300 Pro, which I believe has 2 batteries, but just a single motor. And they have a few other models underneath that as well, going from really, really basic entry level to this, which is kind of almost top of the line of their range. I think they have the DK700 or something that's above this with like a 52 volts, and it's like dual motor, I think, too. I really would like to check that one out, but this one is definitely my favorite looking. That other one, the red one, looks more like a dirt bike. This thing is just so awesome, so sick. I have not had any issues with this thing besides this little lever braking over the past 200 miles, but the brakes are still good, the tires are still good. I think this one is for the rear brake in the back, and I will say that it is getting a bit close to the grip here, so I might have to change the rear brake out soon, but the front brake is still really firm, feels really good. The brakes are a little bit squishy, so I don't know if I could bleed or if that's just a characteristic of these brakes, but either way, you feel really confident on these. You can come to a stop very quickly. This is a heavy bike. I think it weighs about 130, 140 pounds with everything on it, with both batteries and all that. So this is a very durable, very sturdy bike. It's very well built, but it is kind of old school. It's just steel, you know. It's nothing crazy, it's nothing fancy, no aluminum or anything on here. Just a really heavy bike. So if you live on a second floor, like an apartment or something, this is not gonna be a bike that you're gonna want to be carrying upstairs. You're not gonna be able to carry this thing upstairs. This is a bike that you're gonna want to park in the garage. But I mean, you can run errands on this thing. You can take this thing around town. Milad actually did send me this rear rack, which I think they charge extra for, but they sent me out this rear rack to test out too, and it really grew on me. At first I didn't like it, because I thought it kind of ruined looks. But honestly, now I like how it looks on the back. It kind of evens the bike out more. This bike is kind of an interesting riding position because you're in the middle of it. And that's nice for weight distribution and everything. It handles really well. But since you're on the back of the bike, or since you're in the middle of the bike like that, the suspension isn't able to fully like articulate. So that's something that I have noticed. I'm gonna go take this thing on the road over here. But that middle riding position is kind of nice. I'm 5'9", 150 pounds. I fit this bike pretty well, but I do feel a little bit cramped on here with the handlebars. They are a little bit close to my leg there. I don't know what that was. They are a little bit kind of close to my legs, but this is like a motorcycle riding position on this bike. I love how this riding position is on this bike. It's sort of like this cafe racer style. I really should get a rear view mirror for this bike so I can kind of put it, I don't know where I'd put it actually, because there's not really much space on these handlebars. But yeah, this thing is right at home on the street like this. You know, you got your built-in turn signals. This thing's fast. Going about 33 right now. 34. Yeah, this is definitely a bike that is built to be taken on the street. The brakes and everything can handle it. The motor's obviously quick. And if you're going city speeds in town, you're gonna be able to keep up with traffic on this bike, which is really, really nice. And it's a lot safer than riding something that's slower and having to ride on the shoulder. You know, if you're in a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit, you can definitely keep up with traffic unless people are just blatantly speeding. Oh, racing a squirrel. I won. I'm faster than a squirrel on the Milad DK300 Max. Retail on this bike, I think they're asking about $1,600. You can get a little bit of a discount if you use my links to buy this and use my discount code and everything. But I think that that $1,600 price point is an extremely fair price for this bike, for the specs. Milad's a pretty good company too. And I think if you were buying something from like Super 73 or like a bigger brand, you'd be paying a lot more for less specs. So I really like the value that you're getting out of this bike, and I think it's just a great value bike. If you're looking for something that's just kind of all out and you want a dual motor bike, this is kind of like the maximum you can get for a 48-volt system. Now they've got crazy bikes coming out. I think 2025 is going to be a really good year for e-bikes, for like the fast performance e-bikes, because the performance is going to go up and the price is going to come down. So I think that's going to be really awesome in 2025. But this is a really, really good bike. It's fast. It looks really cool. It's relatively affordable for what this thing is. And I think if you pick one of these up, you're going to be really happy with it, because I've been very happy over the past 200 miles on the Milad DK300 Max. Man, what a nice day to just be out here and ride. I love this, man. E-bikes are awesome. If you bought this as your first e-bike, I think you're a little bit crazy, but I think you're also a cool person, because this is an awesome bike and I think you're gonna like it a lot. I've fallen down on this bike before. Luckily it was on grass, but it handled it just fine. My handlebars were a bit bent, but I just bent them back and we were all good. I'm gonna go over here and take this bike a little bit off-road on some more flat surfaces, just to show you guys how good this thing is off-road over here. I'll also say this, if I were to change anything on this bike, it would definitely be that rear spring. I'd put that D&M air shock from the Wired Freedom on this bike, and I think it would be just about the perfect e-bike for me. Besides it, barring it having more power and everything, like, yeah, we can get all crazy with the power and all that, but I think for what this is, like for a 48-volt dual motor, dual battery bike, I think it's just about perfect if you replaced that rear suspension. This thing is just at home off-road as it is on-road, though. It really is a lot of fun. I don't know if these CST Scout tires are the best for off-roading, but they do handle the job fine. I would probably get some knobby tires if I were going to be taking this thing off-road a lot. But I mean, on this relatively flat surface here, this is just so much fun. You can take this thing off-road and explore all types of different trails and everything on this bike. Whoa, look at that owl. I'm flying with an owl. You know, just taking off from a complete stop. This does spin the tire a little bit, but this is just such a heavy bike. If you guys have seen my AME S8 video, you'll see that I spin the front tire out on that like crazy. It's hilarious how much I spin the tire out on that bike. But on this, I don't really have that issue, because I think it weighs a lot more, so there's a lot more weight over the wheels there, as well as the CST Scout tires being better quality and providing a lot more grip for you. And it's funny because I don't think I've ever taken this out of dual motor mode in any of the videos that I've made on this bike, because why would you? You know, I guess if you want to ride around and save a little bit of battery, whatever, you can put it in rear motor or front motor, but either of those modes is not as fun as dual motor mode. But come on, you know why you have this bike. It's to ride this thing around with two motors and have all that power on tap. The range, I've never even gotten close to wearing this battery down, because there's so much battery on here. They're dual 20 amp hour batteries, so you got 40 amp hours of battery, which is gonna take you like 40, 50 miles on throttle only. So I mean, unless you're commuting 100 miles total to work, like, you're not really gonna have to worry about range on this thing. Another criticism of this is that the seat isn't very comfortable, but I mean, you can just buy one of those and swap it out yourself. It's a pretty standard seat on here. This is definitely a one-person bike. You're not fitting another seat on the back of here, and I would not put anybody on this cargo rack, even if I could fit a seat on here, because it's just sketchy. And I would have to weld something onto this frame to reinforce it to really make me feel better about bringing somebody on the back here. So this is a one-person bike. You can use it for a little bit of cargo and stuff, because you do have that front or that rear rack on there. I don't think, I mean, you could probably like somehow fit a front basket on this thing, but I think it'd look kind of silly riding around a motorcycle with a front basket on here. Because essentially this thing is a mini motorcycle. And I love how stable this thing is at speed. I can take my hands off like a motorcycle. I can steer it with my legs. Like it feels like you're on an actual motorcycle. It's hilarious and so much fun. Really, at the end of the day, this bike is just such a laugh. Anyways, guys, that has been 204 miles on my Milad DK300 Max. I'm gonna put hopefully a lot more miles on this bike, because this is that bike that I walk into my garage and I'm like, I'm gonna take that bike. This is the bike that I want to ride all the time. It's fast, it's fun, it's just a laugh. I think you're gonna love this thing if you pick it up, and it's been rock solid for me the past 205 miles. So if you do want to pick this thing up, you can use, whoa, little mouse. If you do want to pick this thing up, you can use the link in the description and the pinned comment. Get you a little bit of a discount by buying directly through Milad. And if this bike isn't your thing, I got plenty of other videos on this channel about other bikes, so you can go check those out. I'll link them in the description as well. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.